There's a force within you that runs deeper than your blood, older than civilization, more potent than any pickup line you've ever heard. A force that modern society has reduced to cheap entertainment, fleeting escape, empty compulsion. But what if I told you that this same energy, when understood and mastered, becomes the most powerful fuel for your complete transformation as a man? What if I told you that men who learn to retain and transmute their sexual essence develop a silent magnetism, a presence that attracts effortlessly, a charisma that transcends words? Have you ever noticed how some men enter a room and without saying a word command all attention? There's something in their posture, their gaze, their energy that communicates power, purpose, depth. It's not arrogance, it's not a performance. It's something subtler and infinitely more powerful. It's sexual energy transmuted into magnetic presence, into focused vital force. Napoleon Hill, in his deepest and least understood work, revealed that sexual energy is the most potent of all human energies, and that history's most successful men learned not to suppress it, but to elevate it, transforming it into fuel for their most extraordinary achievements. But we live in an age where this sacred energy has been profaned. The instant gratification industry has built an empire on your ignorance, selling you the illusion that repeatedly releasing this force is natural, healthy, necessary. They've turned your source of power into a source of weakness, your creative energy into scattered dissipation, your natural magnetism into chemical dependence. And you, unconsciously, may have become complicit in this conspiracy against your own greatness. Think with me: when you release your sexual energy through compulsive masturbation, what exactly are you running from? What emptiness are you trying to fill? What anxiety are you trying to soothe? What existential boredom are you trying to escape? The uncomfortable truth is that behind every compulsive urge lies an unhealed emotional wound, an untapped potential, an unanswered calling from your soul for something greater. Your sexuality, in its highest expression, isn't about releasing tension, it's about accumulating power. The ancients knew this. Esoteric traditions, mystical practices, mystery schools always understood that sexual energy is creative energy in its purest form. It's the same force that creates life, that generates new worlds, that manifests the impossible. When you learn to retain this energy, to conserve it, to consciously direct it, you are literally accumulating creative power, personal magnetism, mental clarity, willpower. You are transforming primal impulse into civilized power. Napoleon Hill discovered that all the great achievers in history, the inventors, the leaders, the visionaries, the empire builders, had one thing in common: they had learned to transmute their sexual energy into creative energy. They didn't deny their impulses, didn't repress them with guilt or shame. They acknowledged them, respected them, and consciously redirected them toward their higher purposes. Ford, Edison, Carnegie, Roosevelt, they all understood that the man who masters his sexual energy masters his life. But what does this transmutation mean in practice? Imagine your sexual energy as a powerful river flowing through your being. In most men, this river flows unrestrained, creating floods of impulse, droughts of motivation, a never-ending cycle of buildup and release that keeps them trapped in patterns of mediocrity. The man who learns to transmute this energy builds conscious dams, directed channels, power plants that transform raw force into refined, usable energy directed toward his most ambitious goals. When you retain your sexual essence, you're not just conserving bodily fluids, you're conserving vital force, creative energy, personal magnetism. You're allowing this energy to build up in your nervous system, creating a higher voltage in your presence, a deeper intensity in your concentration, a more powerful attraction in your personality. Women, who are naturally more sensitive to subtle energies, instantly perceive this difference. They sense, on an unconscious level, that they are in the presence of a man who possesses mastery over his most primal forces. This magnetism isn't fantasy, it's elevated biology. When you practice semen retention, your testosterone levels stabilize at higher levels, your posture becomes more erect and confident, your voice acquires deeper and more authoritative tones, your gaze becomes more penetrating and focused. But more important than these physical changes are the energetic transformations. Your presence becomes denser, your charisma more palpable, your confidence more genuine and less performative. But herein lies the great challenge. Our society has built an entire inverted value system that glorifies energy dissipation. Since adolescence, you've been conditioned to believe that regularly releasing sexual energy is necessary for your health, that retention is harmful, that abstinence is repression. These beliefs aren't scientific, they're cultural, they're economic, they're political. A society of men who master their sexual energy would be a society of men too powerful to be easily controlled, manipulated, sold. The truth is that when you compulsively masturbate, you are literally draining yourself of the fuel necessary for your most ambitious achievements. You're creating cycles of guilt and shame that diminish your self-esteem. You're developing dopamine dependence that makes other activities less pleasurable. You're fragmenting your attention and your capacity for deep concentration. You are, without realizing it, sabotaging your own potential for greatness. Observe men who have practiced semen retention for months or years. There's something different in their eyes, an intensity, a presence, a depth that cannot be faked. There's something different in their posture, a confidence that comes from within, not from external achievements. There's something different in how people respond to them, with more respect, more attention, more genuine interest. It's not magic, it's the difference between a man who disperses his force and a man who concentrates it. Sexual transmutation isn't about denial or repression, it's about elevation and redirection. When you feel the sexual urge arise, instead of automatically releasing it through masturbation, you recognize it as raw creative energy. You take a deep breath, connect with your higher goals, and consciously direct that energy towards your projects, your dreams, your ambitions. You transform sexual fire into creative fire, primal impulse into civilized purpose. This practice requires discipline, but it's not a discipline of denial. It's a discipline of transformation. Each time you choose to retain instead of release, you're strengthening your willpower, expanding your personal control, increasing your capacity for conscious choice over unconscious impulse. You're becoming master of your energies instead of their slave. And women notice this. They may not consciously understand what's different, but they viscerally sense that they're in the presence of a man who possesses something most other men don't. Genuine self-mastery. In an age where most men are impulsive, reactive, dominated by their immediate needs, a man who demonstrates conscious control over his most powerful energies stands out as a precious rarity. But let me be clear about something fundamental. The attraction you'll develop through sexual transmutation isn't based on manipulation or pickup artist techniques. It's based on something far deeper and more sustainable. It's based on who you become when you master your most powerful energies. Women are attracted to men who possess direction, purpose, self-control, focused intensity. These qualities can't be faked or performed. They must be cultivated through conscious discipline over your primal forces. And here we arrive at the crucial point of this journey. If you resonated with these ideas, if something within you recognized the truth in these words, then you're ready for a profound transformation. But real transformation requires more than momentary insight. It requires consistent guidance, regular reminders, a community of men who share this journey of elevation. That's why you should subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell now. Not because I need your numbers, but because you need this consistent source of reminders about your true nature, about your untapped potential, about the practices that can radically transform your life. This content isn't entertainment, it's fuel for your transformation, and men in transformation need regular guidance, not sporadic insights. The journey of sexual transmutation is also a journey of confronting your psychological shadow. All the compulsive urges you've developed regarding sexuality are symptoms of deeper emotional wounds, unmet needs, aspects of your personality that you've rejected or denied. When you stop using masturbation as an escape, these wounds rise to the surface, demanding attention, healing, conscious integration. This process can be uncomfortable at first. You may experience anxiety, irritability, restlessness. It's not because seminal retention is harmful, it's because you were using sexual release as an escape mechanism from difficult emotions, and now those emotions are demanding that you face them directly. This is the difference between men who grow and men who stagnate. Men who grow face their emotional discomfort and transform it into strength. Men who stagnate flee from discomfort through compulsions that keep them trapped in cycles of mediocrity. The retained and transmuted sexual energy also awakens what the ancients called inner fire, an intensity, a passion, a magnetism that transcends physical attraction. It's a presence that communicates power without arrogance, confidence without narcissism, intensity without aggression. Women who have evolved to detect men capable of protection and provision instinctively recognize this energy as a sign of a man who possesses deep inner resources, genuine self-control, and the capacity for conscious direction of his forces. But perhaps the most transformative aspect of this practice is how it affects your relationship with pleasure itself. Most men live in pursuit of immediate pleasure and escape from immediate discomfort. This mentality keeps them trapped in patterns of instant gratification that sabotage their long-term goals. When you learn to delay sexual gratification, to transform tension into creative energy, to find pleasure in the process of achievement rather than just the outcome, you develop a more mature and powerful relationship with pleasure in all areas of your life. Men who practice sexual transmutation report increased ability to concentrate on complex projects, greater mental resilience for challenging tasks, increased clarity in making important decisions, and greater charisma in social interactions. It's no coincidence. When you stop draining your vital energy through compulsive masturbation, that energy becomes available to be invested in activities that actually build your life, instead of just consuming your time. And there's a spiritual aspect to this journey that can't be ignored. Mystical traditions throughout the world have recognized sexual energy as sacred, as a force directly connected to universal creative power. When you learn to honor this energy, to treat it with reverence instead of casually consuming it, you develop a deeper connection with spiritual aspects of your own nature. You stop seeing yourself merely as a body with needs, and begin to recognize yourself as a consciousness capable of consciously directing your most powerful energies. This practice also transforms your relationship with women in a fundamental way. Instead of seeing them through the lens of sexual need, you begin to perceive them as complete, complex beings, worthy of genuine respect and admiration. Paradoxically, when you stop needing them sexually, they begin to feel more attracted to you. Need repels, inner abundance attracts. A man who possesses mastery over his sexual energy radiates an inner abundance that is magnetically attractive. But sexual transmutation isn't just about retention, it's about conscious redirection. The energy you conserve must be channeled into constructive purposes, intense physical workouts, ambitious creative projects, building businesses, developing skills, contributing to your community. Without this redirection, retained energy can become destructive tension, misdirected aggression, paralyzing anxiety. The key is not just to conserve, but to transform that conservation into productive action. The benefits of sexual transmutation manifest in waves. In the first few weeks, you may notice increased physical and mental energy. In the first month, changes in posture and self-confidence. In the third month, deeper transformations in the quality of your presence and how others respond to you. By 6 months, a fundamental reorganization of your behavioral patterns, your life priorities, your capabilities. This isn't superficial change, It's the conscious evolution of your personality toward your highest potential. And herein lies perhaps the deepest truth of this journey. Sexual transmutation is a microcosm of a much larger transformation. It's about learning to master primal urges and directing them toward civilized purposes. It's about developing the capacity for conscious choice over automatic reaction. It's about transforming from a man controlled by his needs into a man who consciously controls his energies. It's about evolving from a passive consumer of pleasure to an active creator of value. When you master your sexual energy, you're not just changing a behavior, you're reprogramming your neurology, reorganizing your biochemistry, redefining your identity. You're proving to yourself that you possess genuine self-mastery, that you can choose purpose over pleasure, growth over gratification, evolution over stagnation. This internal proof becomes the foundation of unshakable confidence, a magnetic presence, a charisma that cannot be faked, because it's based on real conquest over your own limitations. Women who possess a finely tuned intuition for detecting authenticity versus performance instantly recognize a man who possesses this kind of genuine self-mastery. It's not something you need to communicate verbally, it's something that manifests in every gesture, every glance, every word. It's the difference between a man who fakes confidence and a man who has earned it through conscious discipline over his most powerful forces. But perhaps the most revolutionary aspect of sexual transmutation is how it redefines your understanding of masculinity. In a culture that defines masculinity through sexual conquests, pleasure consumption, and impulse gratification, you will be choosing a higher definition, masculinity, as conscious mastery over your most primal energies, as the capacity for intentional direction of your most powerful forces, as constant evolution toward more refined versions of yourself. This is not an easy journey. It requires courage to confront shadowy aspects of your personality, discipline to resist powerful urges, persistence to maintain practices, even when results aren't immediately visible. But it is perhaps the most transformative journey a man can undertake, because it attacks the root from which all other powers arise, conscious mastery over your most fundamental energies. And when you emerge on the other side of this transformation, you will discover something surprising. You haven't lost anything essential. You've gained everything that truly matters. You've gained magnetic presence, genuine confidence, clear purpose, directed energy, authentic charisma. You've gained the ability to attract effortlessly, to influence without manipulation, to lead without coercion. You've gained the genuine respect of other men and the natural admiration of women. You will become the kind of man who walks into a room and, without saying a word, alters the energy of the space. The kind of man who, when he speaks, others listen with genuine attention. The kind of man who, when he acts, inspires others to act. The kind of man women perceive as different, special, rare, not because you're trying to impress them, but because you've become genuinely impressive through the conscious mastery of your most powerful energies. Sexual transmutation is ultimately about awakening the sleeping warrior within you, not the warrior who fights external enemies, but the warrior who wins internal battles, who transforms primal urges into civilized purposes, who converts sexual energy into creative power. It's about becoming lord of your own inner kingdom, commander of your own forces, the conscious architect of your own evolution. And when you truly master this practice, when it becomes integral to who you are, instead of something you do, you will understand the deepest truth. Men who retain and transmute their sexual essence don't attract women because they possess some special trick or technique. They attract because they've become the kind of man who is naturally attractive, focused, disciplined, purposeful, powerful, present, magnetic. You won't need to say anything. your presence will speak for you. Your energy will communicate your power. Your self-mastery will demonstrate your capacity for mastery over life. And at that moment, you will understand that true attraction was never about techniques or strategies. It was always about who you choose to become through conscious discipline over your most primal forces. The journey begins with a simple choice. The next time the urge arises, will you choose to release it automatically or consciously transform it? Your answer will define not only this moment, but the trajectory of your entire evolution as a man. The power has always been in your hands. The question is, will you have the courage to use it?